Hello, Andrea. Here is your key. You'll be in room 23. The elevators are past the door on the right. Enjoy your stay.
Wow. So are you guys ready? Are you guys ready for the robotic movement? I'm ready. What about this? What about this one? You guys probably be ready for this one. Let's but somebody that can help clean up your house. Do your dishes. Think about that. Pretty wild stuff in this video, man. I don't know. People are kind of freaking out about this. They're like, well, we're going to be lazy. You can't do your own laundry. I mean, you can do your own laundry, but one of the things I think is kind of interesting about robotics is it allows you to free up your time. Instead of doing archaic shit, you can do other things that are more valuable. Use your time more valuably. Yeah, we'll see. I don't think we're quite there yet, but that freaking robot, that figure put out, man, that is looking pretty crazy. We'll see. Robotics are here. Guys, we have some big Aoki news, some serious alpha. They had their update today. I'm going to play some of the clips on some of the things that they talked about. So they have a couple of big announcements. Where's the the candle's not lit, man. It's back there, though, 619. Markets are nuking. We're going to talk about that. And this is why we talk about the macro stuff. Okay, a lot of what's happening today is stuff that we covered yesterday. We did a deep dive on rare earth minerals and what China was doing. Today, we saw Trump's response and the fallout from that. So these things do matter. We're not going to get as deep into the details on the rare earth minerals themselves today. We did that yesterday. So if you missed it, you can go back and check that out. Today, though, we are actually going to be doing a deep dive to an extent on soybeans. So we're going to learn some things today, guys. Happy Bloody Friday. It is bloody. What happened to October, man? What the hell? This is not what we signed up for. I mean, look at this. This is the S&P 500. Whoop. That's not pretty. That's not pretty at all. What about the NASDAQ? That's not pretty either. Some pretty ugly stuff happening here. I'm looking at the total crypto market cap. Guys, this is, and I have to point this out. I mean, this is actually crazy. This is that post that I pulled up that someone had on like Reddit. And they had the history of the market tops and bottoms. And they're like, if this pattern continues, October 6th is going to be the top. Sure enough, October 6th. I hope they're wrong. Oh, that's crazy, man. That was posted, 2 years ago in December. Guys, there are plenty of catalysts still coming. We're going to talk about a little bit of that in the broader crypto stuff, and then before we get into the deep end side of things. But things are certainly not too pretty right now. You see a lot of red in the markets outside of Z Cash, which is a privacy network. Actually, I'm going to talk about that and a couple of deep in plays that I think could benefit from that narrative that's playing out currently. So a couple of projects, one I've covered before, one I haven't covered before that I'm looking at. But man, this is where really this whole thing came from, is Trump's response. So of course, yesterday, China announced they're going to put restrictions on rare earth minerals. I went into a lot of depth about rare earth minerals and how they have monopoly, and they have 90% roughly of the rare earth minerals are coming from China. But this was Trump's response today. Very long tweet, and I highlighted the things that really matter and aren't like nonsense. So it says they want to impose export controls on each and every element of production having to do with rare earths. Essentially, it would clog the markets and make life difficult for virtually every country in the world, especially for China. And then, yeah, of course, you say, I've always felt that they've been lying in wait, and now As usual, I have been proven right. It's funny. Okay. But starting with magnets and other elements that they have quietly amassed into somewhat of a monopoly position, which is true. He says that the U.S. has monopoly positions also much stronger and much far-reaching than China's. I have not chosen to use them yet, and there hasn't been a reason until now. Okay, so the red down here are the main things that the markets are reacting to. Okay, so number one, it says I was to meet President Xi in 2 weeks at APEC, and we talked about it yesterday how they have this meeting coming up in South Korea. But now there seems to be no reason to do so. So that's the first thing markets are freaking out about is like, oh, well, we were supposed to have this meeting with President Xi so they could negotiate things. And now Trump's basically calling that off. Let's hope that's not actually what happens. Let's hope between now and then they figure something out so they do actually meet and they're just posturing. And I think that's probably what's going on right now, but we have to see how this plays out. The other thing that people are in markets really latching on to, and a big reason why we're seeing markets drop. It says one of the policies that we are calculating at this moment is a massive increase of tariffs on Chinese products coming into the United States of America. There are many other countermeasures that are likewise under serious consideration. Okay. You couldn't tell by my sigh how I feel about this. Supposed to be October. Well, this bomb released on October 10th, not great. Okay. Not great at all. Let's see here. There was something I had highlighted here. Here we go. So it says the Ministry of Commerce said that the exports of Chinese origin rare earth or products made with them will now require government licenses if they're linked to the development or manufacture of advanced chips. So this is a big deal. They are targeting chip manufacturing. Okay. And what do we know about chip manufacturing? Well, a lot of our economy right now and a lot of the growth in our GDP is based on the build out of these AI data centers. This is China absolutely targeting the AI growth, okay, and development because of these chips. And in particular, one of the things, let's see here, one of the companies, they got rid of my highlights on this article, I think. Oh no, here it is. Okay, so this is a big deal. So it says the immediate significance of these restrictions lies in their profound potential to disrupt global supply chains, impede national defense capabilities, and introduces significant uncertainty for the worldwide semiconductor industry, particularly impacting the development and deployment of AI technologies. Okay. In particular, they call out some companies that could be very highly impacted. You'll notice all of these: Apple, Dell, HP, IBM, Intel, Samsung, and TSMC face substantial disruption. Now, why do I have TSMC highlighted here? Well, I mean, you look at the top 10 most valuable companies in the world, you have NVIDIA, Microsoft, Apple, Google, Amazon, Meta, down the list. Okay, that's the oil company, Saudi Aramco. TSMC is number 9. So why would I highlight that in red? Well, guys, that's because all those companies get their chips from TSMC. All of them, okay? All of the top 10 companies in the entire world get their chips from TSMC. TSMC stands to be very disrupted from this move by China on rare earth minerals. Okay, this could be very crippling to the global economy. All of these, NVIDIA, even the U.S. military, by the way, NVIDIA, Apple, Microsoft, Google, Amazon, Tesla, you name it, they all get their chips from TSMC. So this is a huge deal. Okay, and this is why people are freaking out. Yeah, TSMC in Arizona. Yeah, we're trying to build foundries in Arizona. They can't find enough skilled labor, though. That's the big problem for that. But TSMC based out of Taiwan, by the way. That's why Taiwan's such a big deal. Everyone freaks out every time. Oh, Taiwan's threatened by China. But this is big. And again, they called this out specifically that they are now targeting the chip supply, man, right here. So any chips that are 14 nanometers or below, or memory of 256 layers or more. So any high-end microchips are targeted right now with this rare earth mineral situation. So that's a big reason why I think Trump's so upset. And it's not just Trump. I think every country right now is like, dude, this is not good. Okay. The other thing, though, that's getting tied up in all of this is the news about Argentina. I don't know if you guys saw this, but there's a lot of people very upset about how we have finalized a $20 billion currency swap framework with Argentina's central bank. And this actually does tie in with China. So I think all of this is like China and the U.S. posturing. But this deal with Argentina, a lot of people are framing it as a bailout. But in particular, and this is a post from Scott Bessent, Treasury Secretary. He says the U.S. Treasury is prepared immediately to take whatever exceptional measures are warranted to provide stability to markets. This is something that a lot of people are clinging on to with their post today. So why is this happening? Why are we giving financial support to Argentina? Well, a lot of this has to do with soybeans. I know that sounds crazy, but the soybean farmers in the U.S. are getting absolutely decimated right now. And a lot of this has to do with the tariffs that we put on China. So we're going to dig in a little bit on this. It says more than $30 billion worth of American soybean products were exported in 2024, according to the U.S. Department of Agriculture. And actually, if you look, out of all of our exports, soybeans, and from an agricultural standpoint, soybeans is by far and large our biggest export on the agricultural side. So that's a big deal. 30 billion, and our farmers are very much impacted by what's going on here. So going back to this, it says for American soybean farmers, their top overseas market has long been China. China buys about a third of our exports. So $12 billion worth of soybean products, but not anymore. Okay, so far, China has not purchased any U.S. soybeans during this year's main harvest period, with sales falling to zero in May. On the other hand, we have Argentina, who basically cut prices down, and they sold more than 2.5 million metric tons of soybeans to Beijing after briefly suspending its export tax on the soy products. So what we have here is China has basically said, screw you to the U.S. They're not buying any of our soybeans. Our farmers are getting absolutely destroyed. And Argentina is now stepping in and selling to China. Says this is what Scott Bessent said. It's unfortunate that the Chinese leadership has decided to use the American soybean farmers in particular, as a hostage or pawn in trade negotiations. So again, this is all due to the ongoing negotiations between China and the U.S. It says farmers view the situation differently, however. They want Trump to reach a trade deal with China that ends the unofficial embargo on soybeans. But instead, what they see is the White House preparing to bail out one of their chief rivals. So here's what the farmers are saying, like, hey, what the hell, man? You put all these tariffs and now we can't sell our soybeans. And now you're giving $20 billion to this company that is undercutting our prices and selling to China. Okay. So it says the Trump administration will announce new support for farmers, especially the soybean farmers, on Tuesday. So what does this look like? And oh, by the way, I thought this was interesting. So Scott Bessent himself owns $25 million of farmland in North Dakota that produces corn and soybeans. So I thought that was interesting. But it does say here that soybeans will be a topic of discussion at the upcoming meeting between Trump and President Xi. Okay. So will that happen though? Because now Trump's saying that they're not going to meet. So, between the soybeans and the posturing on rare earth minerals, and it's not just that, guys. But here it says the soybean farmers of our country are being hurt because China is, for negotiating reasons only, not buying. That's what the president said. We made so much money on tariffs that we were going to take a small portion of that money and help our farmers. So they're talking about giving stimulus to the farmers with some of the tariff money. And you have to wonder, though, this $20 billion of funding that they have given Argentina, I would bet that part of that is going to be that they can't sell soybeans to China. Okay. So I believe that, people are like, why are they doing this? I think that's a big reason why they're doing it. Soybean subsidies, great, right? And here's what Scott Bessent had to say, and I think that he kind of solidifies this stance here and what he was saying. Let me share this tab here.
Argentina is a beacon in Latin America. President Milei has done the right thing. He is trying to break 100 years of a bad cycle in Argentina. He is also a great ally for the U.S. He'll be coming to the Oval Office next Tuesday, and he is committed to getting China out of Argentina. They're all over the place.
Well, there you go. So they're meeting with him next week. He is committed to getting China out of Argentina. I would imagine that also part of this is going to be that they cannot sell soybeans to China. But this whole stimulus situation, oh man, the government shutdown is putting a wrench in things. How about this? So it says that producers are struggling under the weight of the loss of certain USDA services and lack of a bailout. Says the government shutdown is creating financial heartburn for farmers across the country, stalling the delivery of farm loans, the release of critical market reports, and the Trump administration's plan for cash bailouts. Oh man, says that every day, and this is a big takeaway here. Every day that the government isn't open, there's slightly more anxiety in the farm country, especially as growers are harvesting and having to pay bills and having to pay off their bank. It says here that there's serious risk of farm bankruptcies this year. Okay, so. Oh man. So there's a lot here. Okay. And I wish this was it, guys. There's more though. On top of the soybean, and our farmers are getting kind of stuck in the middle between the negotiations of China. You've got this money going to Argentina to get them, I think, to stop dealing with China. You've got the rare earth minerals now, and Trump, throwing his temper tantrum today. Well, even more fuel on the fire. China has now hit U.S. owned vessels docking in the country with tit for tat port fees. Oh man. It says in response to American government's plan for port fees on Chinese ships. So we started this actually, but they are retaliating. And it says that this would take effect on October 14th. Okay, so we've got port fees, we've got soybeans, we got farmers in pain, we've got rare earth minerals disrupting the global supply chain. There's a lot of shit happening. That is why markets are tumbling, guys. That is why. So the question is, can we see things improve? Will Trump and Xi come to their senses? Will they end up meeting? Will they negotiate some of this stuff? I would think so. But could there be some pain in the short term? Certainly, we're already seeing it. The other thing I want to talk about before we get into the crypto side of things is that oil prices are down, guys. 58.38. And this is a really important number. This threshold, the $60 threshold, is a very, very important number. Energy analysts see that $60 a barrel is a key price threshold. It's really below that mark is when oil producers scale back activity, eventually cut back on production. Says that at $60, the U.S. is going to slow down. This is actually from earlier this year when we saw it reach 60, and it bounced back pretty quickly. And I remembered reading this, but it obviously is pertinent because we're back there again now. So I imagine they'll start talking about this again. But this just happened today. By the way, the oil price is coming down. A lot of that is due to, it's crazy how all this is so interconnected, but the peace agreement between Israel and Hamas. So anytime you see, heightened, problems in the Middle East where a lot of our oil comes from, you see oil prices tend to go up. Well, now that those peace talks are happening, oil prices have come down. Okay. So kind of a byproduct of that, which is wild. But it says that at $60, the U.S. is going to slow down. Production is going to go down. It just won't happen overnight. It says to put oil pricing into context, the industry cuts back at $60 per barrel, but at $50, it's a disaster for everyone. And you're not going to get any drill baby drill or meaningful activity unless it's above 85. So we have to keep an eye on oil prices. Says that the average break-even price for profitability in the U.S. oil sector is $62 a barrel. So we are below that right now. So obviously that has an impact on employment in the oil and gas industry. A positive byproduct of this is that it should bring inflation down. Inflation is very heavily correlated to oil prices. Okay. If inflation comes down, that means that Fed Powell can, cut rates more aggressively. So that's good. So that is one positive byproduct. The other, though, has to do with Russia. Russia, one of their biggest exports is oil. In fact, it's like their only substantial revenue from exports. So as prices come down in oil and their revenues come down, that does have a huge impact on how effective they can be in the war with Ukraine. So that is another positive byproduct of oil prices coming down. Obviously, though, it could have an impact on employment in the U.S., in particular the oil and gas industry. So that was the macro update. We had a lot to cover today. Hopefully you all learned something. I learned some stuff. That's why I love doing this stuff. I get to learn new stuff every day. All right, let's talk about crypto. Some other things that took place today. An update in the market structure bill. Brian Armstrong with Coinbase had this to say about it. We absolutely won't accept this. It's a bad proposal, plain and simple, that would set innovation back and prevent the U.S. from becoming the crypto capital of the world. But legislating is a process, and we're committed to engaging and helping Congress get it right. We will keep fighting for your rights and to preserve economic freedom. So what is he talking about? Oh, so this is actually not Elizabeth Warren. I was listening to a space this morning. There's 12 Democrats that are working on this policy with the Republicans. And it seems that some of the things that they're trying to push into the legislation is not something that is good for innovation. Goes on to say here from the Blockchain Association, the disappointing proposal outlined by Senate Democrats would effectively ban decentralized finance, wallet development, and other applications in the U.S., an outcome that's neither workable nor consistent with American innovation. The language as written is impossible to comply with and would drive responsible development overseas. We urge our policymakers to stay at the table, continue to engage each other across the aisle, and ensure that this critical piece of legislation supports rather than hinders our nation's leadership in financial technology. Okay. So we are hoping, according to Cynthia Lummis, that this would be pretty much finalized by Thanksgiving and on the president's desk and signed by the end of this year. We'll see. That one of the things I covered last week, or maybe it's earlier this week, what I thought was interesting is with the government shutdown. Yeah, it had to have been earlier this week. With the government shutdown, they did say it actually would potentially give them more time to work on the crypto legislation, but apparently there's some work that still needs to be done there. But not all is negative, guys. This is some huge freaking news. Morgan Stanley has dropped restrictions on which wealth clients can own crypto funds. So originally, they had limited crypto assets to those with aggressive risk tolerance and at least 1.5 million in assets. Okay. Prior to that, though, they were not allowing anyone else, any of their other clients, to invest in crypto. But it says on Friday, they told their financial advisors that the firm was broadening access to crypto investments to all clients and allowing such investments in any type of account, including retirement accounts. So this is a big deal. They have $8.2 trillion in client assets. The biggest takeaway, though, which I don't think a lot of people have picked up on, I haven't seen many people talk about it. It says here, the bank's Global Investment Committee recently issued a model that recommended a maximum initial allocation of crypto up to 4%. So they're saying for some of their clients, they are advising up to as much as 4% allocation to crypto. Guys, this is freaking massive, okay? Because up until this point, Morgan Stanley was like very anti-crypto. And at this point, they have 8.2 trillion under asset management. They're opening up to all of their clients and now up to 4% allocation. Talk about a shift. That's huge, huge news. And then think about all the instruments they're going to have access to soon, right? So now you have your financial advisors telling you, hey, yeah, I know I told you not to buy crypto, but things have changed. Oh, by the way, we have all these spot ETFs. How about that? Other news. Major banks explore issuing stablecoin pegged to G7 currencies. The movement is happening, guys. 10 major banks, including Bank of America, Deutsche Bank, Goldman Sachs, UBS, are jointly exploring issuing a stablecoin, the latest sign of traditional finance seeking to get their grips with the growth of digital assets. Also names a bunch of lenders that says they will work together to explore creating blockchain-based assets pegged to G7 currencies. Here it says the objective of the initiative is to explore whether a new industry-wide offering could bring the benefits of digital assets and enhance competition across the market while ensuring full compliance with regulatory requirements and best practice risk management. Man, they are flooding. And I did go on to say that, and this is going to change, but it did say that so far, stablecoins have been largely used for moving money between crypto markets, which remain a small part of wider financial markets. Nearly 9/10 of stable, or 90% of stable, I don't know why they say it that way. Nearly 90% of stablecoin transactions are related to crypto trading, while just 6% are used for payment of goods and services. What do you guys think that's going to shift to? Because with the Genius Bill, the Genius Act, all these banks are going to be launching stablecoins. A lot of money is going to be transacted on chain. What do you think? Because right now, 90% is for crypto trading. I wouldn't be surprised if in a year from now we see like 40% of stablecoin activity actually buying things. Maybe that's aggressive. I don't know. But we're going to see a big shift. And that's another reason why when looking at like altcoin market cap, a lot of times it's included stablecoins. I think to this point, that's made sense when 90% is being used for trading crypto. I think in the future, we're going to have to remove stablecoins from that equation, from the non-Bitcoin, and the altcoin market cap, because a lot of that's not going to be really used for investing into crypto assets. A lot of it's going to be used for really just normal everyday purchases. All right. So some good news along with some bad news. Obviously, the macro is a little uncertain. Bitcoin, disgusting. That is so gross. This freaking candle. This sucks. This sucks. This is freaking China and US, man. All the way. What we got to hope for is like that, they come to their senses. Trump, says something, and he has I think he's getting on video today at like 4 p.m. Eastern, I think. Hopefully he says something along the lines of, we're going to work through this and like negotiate. He probably won't say that. He'll probably say something like, we're going to put huge tariffs on China. We don't need them, and nuke the markets further. But let's hope that that's not what happens. Okay, let's talk about Solana. Oh my goodness. Disgusting. So bad. 225 down to 205. Oh man. Again, this is why we cover the macro stuff, because that's what's causing this. It's like the fundamentals are strong. The accessibility to cryptos getting better. You have financial advisors telling their clients to buy crypto starting on October 15th. All good things, but geez. Well, if you've got stable coins now, I guess you don't want to catch a falling knife, but we have to see what Trump says. Will Trump nuke markets more later when he gets on video? Maybe. Who knows what he's going to say? But guys, I still remain very bullish on Solana. We have multiple of these companies have updated their spot ETF applications. So you have over $500 million in SOL holdings. The Solana company, they recently just announced their Solana digital asset treasury. You've got Canary Funds has amended their application for their spot ETF for Solana. You've got Grayscale updated theirs as well. So a lot of these are updating them to have staking spot ETFs. So that'll be pretty sweet. And the last thing I want to talk about here before we get into deep end is Zcash, guys. And it is continuing to run. Over the last month, up 413%. Over the last 7 days, up 76%, up 14% today. So it's one of the very few things that's moving upward. And what we're seeing right now is there's a small subsect in crypto that's doing particularly well, and that is in the privacy networks. Zcash being one of those. So you start kind of see, and we've seen this throughout the last really this whole market cycle. You see kind of subsectors will outperform the rest of the market. I think robotics is one of those. That's definitely, we saw it a little bit over the last couple of months, but I think they're going to have much brighter times ahead. But we're seeing right now privacy networks. And I bring this up because there's a couple of deep in projects I'm going to bring up at the end of this stream that I am looking at. One I've covered before, one I haven't. So just keeping an eye on that I might throw a little bit at just to try to play out this current sector play. But I mean, you look at the market, man. Ugh. So gross. Zcash sitting at is the only one that's really doing much. You have Tau here. Tau's technically a deep in, I think, on CoinMarketCap. So it's good to see that some are performing a little bit on the day. I don't know what the hell this thing is. What is this? Chain Opera AI. No, I got to look at that one. That's top 100. Look at what it's done in the week. A 20x. Are you kidding me? Just bought more SSK. Yeah, man. I'm telling you that the Rex Osprey Solana ETF. Not a bad idea, Bob, I have to say. Let's talk about Aoki, though. Okay. There's a couple of big announcements that came today. I want to play. This was this morning. Okay. So I'm going to play from this point forward. He talks about a couple of surprises. Okay. So this first one, he references an airport. We'll go ahead and play this. Oh, shoot. I got to share. I lost my audio. Here we go. Boom. And we're back. Here we go.
And they had a very special visitor today. One of the world's absolutely coolest and most visited airports. I unfortunately can't say which one, but
I don't know why the audio is so soft. Hopefully you guys can hear it okay. I can't turn it up anymore for some reason.
if you think of the coolest airport, it's that one, right? It's that one. And
so he says the coolest airport. It's that one. What could that be? Well, I asked XAI. It says this Changi, I guess that's how you say it. They've won the #1 spot for a 13th time this year. And you look, it's out of Singapore. So out of all the contenders, if he says that it's the coolest airport in the world, I would have to think that's my #1 choice of who he's talking about here.
Right? Coolest and most visited airports. I unfortunately can't say which one, but if you think of the coolest airport, it's that one, right? It's that one. And they just walked into our office today, right? And we showed them around. We brought them in here to the robotics lab, got them say hi to Terry, who's just hanging here on his sex swing right now. And then we showed them the app-free navigation demo. And they were blown away. Just loved it. And I was like, could you do this for an airport? Boy, could we do this for, we could absolutely do this for an airport. So immediately, the two bosses give me their card. It's like, we need to talk. Fuck yeah, we need to talk. Absolutely, we need to talk. Let's bring the world's coolest AR navigation to the world's coolest airport. Let's go. Let's do that. Absolutely. So that was unexpected. Very nice little sprinkle on our day. Made us very happy. We certainly weren't expecting to get this visitor. But then another very surprising thing happened. And the repercussions of how big this is and how surprising it is still dawning on us. But we caught up with one of our Chinese robotics partners today. We had a scheduled call. We've been working with these guys for a while, and we have some ideas of something very big that we want to do together in 2026. And like half a year ago, we started pitching them.
Yep, and then it was back in May that we went to Shanghai and visited them.
All right, so they're in Shanghai.
They're out of Shanghai.
We're close to Shanghai. we went to visit them back in May. Actually, if you've been watching all of our community updates, you will know who this is then. And we started pitching them like, here's the thing that we need to do together, and why you should ramp up production, why you should believe in us to do this with you. Like, we are gonna deploy hundreds, no thousands, no tens of thousands more robots than you're expecting. And we explained our go-to-market strategy. We explained why our software was an important missing piece of their stack. And this is a big company, right? A very big company. So it takes a while for information to travel through the organization and for decisions to be made. But today in our catch-up call, they brought in a new important face for a very different kind of conversation, which is, how can we make sure that the robot is everything that you want? So now we get to give feedback on this unreleased robots features, which is lovely. We didn't need that, but thank you, lovely. So now, yeah, one of China's biggest robot companies are talking to us directly about how do we get this robot ready for market? Like, what are the features that you need? So that's cool. But the really cool thing was when they said, yeah, so we want to do this, and we want to see about giving you exclusivity for some geographies and industries to protect your industries as well.
Whoa.
What? We were not expecting this. We did not ask for this. This just came out of their mouth. We're willing to give Aoki exclusivity for some geographies and industries.
Wow. Guys. I mean, just when I thought I couldn't get more bullish on this project, are you freaking kidding me? Are you kidding me? The other thing that was posted in their Discord, I said, we are already treated as not crypto. We have mainstream customers. Yesterday, I spoke to a big investor and they asked if we shouldn't just exit to someone like Figure for $1 billion payout. He said, and I explained that we will likely reach 1 billion in annual reoccurring revenue way before Figure does. He kicked the tires a bit, checked my assumptions, and then agreed. Yeah, Aoki has a real shot of beating Figure, Optimus, etc. to 1 billion ARR. We have a very unique approach and strong moat. That just after that call, I got an inbound email from one of our very biggest retailers in the world, 100 billion plus, telling us that they expect what they expect from a future robotics deployment. And I swear it's like they read our documentation and said, that's what we want. Did go on to say that this would be a 500 to 3,000 robot deal. Y'all, I don't know what to tell you. If you're not sold on Aoki, I don't know, man. Get some glasses. I don't know what to tell you. Seriously. The price is like down below 2 cents today. I'm going to have to buy more. Like, I don't know. It's just crazy, man. It's crazy what they're doing. It seems like everything is happening at once. Like they just hit like a certain point, and now the inbounds they're getting and on the work they're doing is actually insane. So robotics, man, I can't say it enough. Aoki, continue to be impressed with what they're doing. If it's not on your radar, get it on your radar. And you know, I'm not saying to invest in it, but you guys, you're doing yourself a disservice if you're not willing to at least do some research and look into that project, man. That's all I got to say about that. 375 AI, we already went through this. If you are outside of the US or Canada, you can, it is now live. You can do their coin sale, participate in that. One of the things that came up on our happy hour last night was that the TGE is expected this month. Okay, we don't have an exact date, but it is expected to happen in October. That is fantastic news. Very exciting. I am super excited about 375 AI. This token sale right now, it is the EAT token. Win, EAT, baby. It is going to be this month. Fully diluted valuation in this token sale is 75 million. Doesn't mean that's what TGE is going to be, but to me, that would be very attractive if it's around that range at TGE. We shall see. If you're a GeoNet holder, guys, you have only 5 more days to bridge your assets from Polygon over to Solana and take advantage of this bonus. They're looking to make Solana their main chain. They're moving away from Polygon. They're giving you an incentive to do it. Okay. So I already got mine all switched over. You can do it very easily using this website, sol.geonet.com. Connect your wallet. You can very easily transfer it over. Make sure to use round numbers. I think it has problems with decimal places. I was getting like an error message, but once I went to round numbers without any decimals, I was able to transfer things over. You do need to have, like, I think 7 Polygon in your wallet in order to push it through that bridge. I covered this yesterday. Tuesday, I'm going to be on this Havelo. We're doing a new series, basically quarterly, as of right now is the plan. So I'm going to be on there with Neil. We're going to be going through all the different categories. Of course, we'll talk robotics. I'll talk Aoki. But we're going to go through basically all the different categories that are promising deep in today. I'll be talking about Helium. I'll be talking about, Hive Mapper, Rover, GeoNet. I go, all the projects that matter, guys, that are doing things. So that'll be exciting. Probably be like an hour or two. I'm not sure how long that'll go. All right. Zcash. Oh man, that sucks. 619. You had your GOD stakes. You have to wait 4 months to transfer it. Damn. That's a bummer. Zcash. Okay, so this has been on its hair, and this is the subsector right now that is running. Okay. Privacy networks. In particular, there's a couple in DeepIn that I think are worth keeping your eyes on. One is Anyone. You look over the last month, it's kind of down, actually, up 7.33% on the week, only 5% on the day, sitting at about $50 million market cap. This thing was a lot higher. Got all the way up to around $2.17. But it is a privacy network. Okay, so it does fit into that narrative right now that is running. Zcash is going. So some of these smaller caps, I think, could stand to benefit. I mean, this is up on a day when everything else is down, right? So I think that's a clear signal. The other one, and I found this post here because I just searched like ZEC and Anyone to see. Sometimes you can find posts that have other projects. This guy said, today I'm going to set on another privacy project that, in my opinion, is really underrated because the mainnet will be released in Q4, the ZKP. So I haven't looked into this really, ZK Panther. I did pull up the account on CoinMarketCap, but I found it like right before the show. So this is not an endorsement by any means, guys. I don't endorse anything anyway because it's not financial advice, but I did want to bring it up and highlight it because it's only a $2.7 million market cap. It is up 16% in the last week. On the daily, 6.8%. So it is also part of that privacy network category. And again, it says that they're having their mainnet in Q4. So this one I'm going to do some research on today, see if I want to take a position and see what could happen here. But if you can catch fire on a certain sector that's running and you can find some low caps, you could potentially find lightning in a bottle. At least get some short-term gains, some major gains potentially. So that is one I'll look at. Again, I'd highly recommend doing your own research though before entering in any of these though. Whew. Well, guys, that's what we got today. Oh man, how about Aoki? Unreal. I gotta reach out to Nils. I gotta get him on. I know they're busy right now. He was traveling the last month, so we have talks about getting him on for an interview, but we haven't nailed down a time yet. I think on next Tuesday's space, we might be getting Streamer on. So Streamer is a peer-to-peer data streaming network. So I'm in talks with their founder right now about getting them on. They have some new updates they want to talk about. And let's see. I have an interview scheduled with WeatherXM with their CEO, so I got to get them on. I'm trying to think of what other Nils for sure. Ex Machina. I've talking to their team right now too. So we're trying to get all the robotic stuff nailed down. And then I'm gonna get Mike Horton back on. I was talking to Mike the other day with GeoNet. He wants to come on again for another interview. So it's been like a year since our last interview. So there's a lot to talk about since then. Interesting you say that. Is that a weather network? It is, yeah. I was looking at this one the other day. I asked a couple people about it, and I was like, what is their differentiation from WeatherXM? they couldn't seem to answer that. I think it's something that it's when I was looking at it, I want to say that it was like more decentralized potentially. Um, you know what, man? Yeah, look, I think that there is value in in these weather networks for sure. In fact, I thought it was interesting. I found an article from NPR that I was reading about how the government agencies are relying more and more on privatized weather data because private companies have been able to gather data more efficiently than the government. Go figure. Shocker. It's the government so efficient. So I think I think there's certainly some value in weather data, especially hyperlocal weather data, because you see, like, I think Google just recently released their weather prediction AI model, and it's been like beating meteorologists 90% of the time. But of course, they need data. So I think there's going to be a need for the data. The question is how much, and how many players can there really be in the deep in space, and where you can see success out of this. So, like with Nubula, I mean, I need to look further into it to see like what their differentiation is from the likes of a WeatherXM, because WeatherXM's been around a long time. And if we look at their market cap, it's not like they're like setting the world on fire here, right? So they're at 6.19 million. I mean, that's freaking nothing. And they're making moves. So like if WeatherXM's been around for years, they're seeing a lot of success on the fundamental side and only at a $6 million market cap. It makes me wonder, like, how much upside is there for another weather project? That'd be my question, really. Now, in doing my deep dive video on WeatherXM, I did learn like it's pretty cool what we're going to see with weather forecasting. Like it's going to get to a point where, like, in the morning, you ask Amazon Alexa, like, what should you wear today? It's going to be able to look at your calendar. And with hyperlocal weather, basically be able to say, okay, well, you have this meeting in this window, this 15-minute window in that specific area. You're likely going to see rain there. So bring your rain jacket for this period of time. And, you can get away with a t-shirt during this period of time. It's also big for industries though, too. Like you think about, construction sites, operating a crane in certain conditions, windy conditions, you can't do it, right? So if you know exactly how much wind there's going to be and from what period of time, you can more efficiently send your employees to other job sites rather than having them sit around not knowing what to do. The other thing I'll say is for retail. So, let's say a Home Depot can see very accurately that in 10 days from now, there's going to be a heat wave. Okay. And like within a very high probability, they can now run an AI model that shows, 3 years ago, and we had a heat wave in this specific area, air conditioning sales skyrocketed. So now they can pre-stock their shelves a week and a half in advance to prepare for that. Right. So there's a lot of reasons why hyperlocal weather data is valuable. And with the emergence of AI, I think the prediction of weather is going to be huge. So, and I know WeatherXM is working on some other things right now too that are pretty exciting. So I'm looking forward to getting them on. But certainly a project. I have some deployments myself. I'm holding WXM tokens. Check up prices of fans 10 days for the heat wave. I mean, that is capitalism, isn't it? Capitalism, baby. Oh, man. Well, guys, try to get outside, touch some grass. Don't look at the charts too much, because on days like this, it can be a little depressing. Not going to lie. But, that's why we look at this from an objective standpoint, guys. Like, we cover the macro stuff. It has an impact. I think understanding what's happening, what's causing the markets to drop is important. It's not like, oh, crypto's dying. It's like, no, there's other things that are happening that are causing this. And then you look at all the positive catalysts that are taking place. You can kind of like disconnect from the price action for today and look at the broader scope of things. And I think that's important to be able to do. All right, guys. Appreciate you. Make sure to like and share and retweet this session, and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. I'm going to be working on that deep dive video on the rover tokenomics, so I can show you can learn how to look on chain on Solana, Sol Chain, or Solscan rather, and like do full analysis of tokenomics, unlock schedule, and price projections, all that. So I'm going to work on that tonight. Peace.